All right, what's up, familia? Welcome inside the Big Rig. Hope you guys are doing good. Keep hearing between the lines. Got your loads here. Okay, Blood In, Blood Out, and American Me. Did those movies have an impact? And those are probably the most two popular movies that there are. There were movies, gang movies before that. You had Boulevard Nights, you had Walk Proud, you had The Duke of Earl, you had Colors. You had a couple of movies before that. But these two movies, Blood In, Blood Out, and American Me, get the most love and the most hate. And I do want to get into that, especially when it gets to the gang aspect of it, okay? Now, Colors, I do believe, had a very strong impact outside of SoCal, outside of Los Angeles. It seemed like that's where it had a huge impact and changed a lot of the street life in the rest of the country. Not so much in Los Angeles or SoCal because it was already like that. But for the rest of the country, I believe Colors had a huge impact. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys my experience and the difference and the impact that I saw with these movies. Okay, if you guys didn't see this, then again, it's my experience, not your experience, my experience. Okay, on the impact that these movies had. So I watched a lot of these movies in the 80s, right? The Boulevard Nights, Walk Proud, Zoot Zoot, Colors. I watched them in the 80s. Once we got into the 90s, that's when American Me came out. I believe it was in 1992. Okay, I don't know. I was like 11, 12 years old. I don't remember. So when that movie came out, did it have an impact? My experience and everything that I seen and the way people were acting, 100% yes. Not just with little kids, but with teenagers and people in their 20s. Yes, yes, and yes, it had an impact. Now, there's going to be vatos right now talking about like, oh yeah, but not with real gangsters. I'll get to that in a second. I'm going to get to the whole gang aspect in it in just a second, all right? But yeah, Holmes, yeah, I definitely saw a huge impact that movie had, man. The way people were acting, and when I say people, I want to make it clear. I'm not talking about your everyday Juan, all right? I'm talking about people that were living that street life, people that were looking to live that street life, whether you were in a gang, whether you kicked it with gangs, whether you were just living that street life. Look, there's about those homies that were never in gangs, homies that live a street life, dog. Okay, I got quite a few homies like that. Yeah, they were never involved in an actual street gang, but they're street vatos, dog, straight out, homies. All right. Yeah, it had a big impact. Definitely, the way people started acting, the way their demeanor, all that stuff. You had vatos throwing down, homie, by saying things like, "Hey, look at me when you talk to me, homies." Yeah, and I'm not talking about little kids, man. Yeah, little kids were doing it. I was a kid at that time. Yes, it was happening. Like I said, I saw people in their 20s doing things like that. Everybody was trying to act like Santana. Okay, people were trying to act like Santana. People now had some sort of visual of what they wanted to be like. So, and I moved around different places, and everywhere I kind of saw the same thing. So did it have an impact? Again, with my experience and everything that I seen, yes, definitely, homie. It had a huge impact. Now, Blood In, Blood Out, I believe came out the following year in 1993. Okay, did that have a huge impact? Not so much. Not so much. It got popular after the movie theaters, actually, man. But it was popular, and I think the culture of it is what probably had an impact. But as far as like the street gang life, not really that I seen. Okay, I heard people, a lot of references from the movie, definitely, but not the way American Me had an impact. It was just more for enjoy, the entertainment value, to enjoy the movie. There might have been a little bit of an impact here and there. Yes, I'm not going to say it had zero impact, but for the most part, American Me had a much bigger impact. Again, my experience, than Blood In Blood Out. So let me get to the love and the hate for these movies. All right. Again, I'm just talking about vatos from the streets, homie. Okay, like I ran it down already. Whether they're, from a gang, kick it with gangs, just street dudes, whatever, just living that street life. All right. Okay. Because this is where it gets a little funny, homie. This is where gotta pull some covers here. Okay. When those movies first came out, I didn't hear anybody talk bad about them. I did not go watch those movies in the movie theater. Like Colors, I actually went to go see it as a kid, as a little kid in the movie theater, and a fight broke out in the theater. But those two movies, I never saw them in the movie theater. I saw them once they came out on video. This is before like Blockbuster and Hollywood Video and stuff like that. You would go down to your local video store, and for the new releases, it was $2 for the new releases, and you could only keep it one day, overnight. For the old releases, it was $1, and you could keep it for 2 nights. So when those movies hit the video stores, and then you had to rewind it before you go turn them in, dog, or they would charge you like 25 cents, right? Anyway, so when those movies came out, dog, everybody was renting those two movies, homie. Everybody was renting American Me. Everybody was renting Blood In, Blood Out. You would go to people's houses like, hey, look, dog, I bought it. It's like, oh, damn, it was a pretty big deal, Holmes. It was a pretty big deal, and it had a big impact. It had people talking. People were talking about it. People were giving it a lot of praises, saying like, man, hey, that's a badass movie, huh? It was, American Me was very raw, and everybody just kind of seemed like they were just like down with it, like yeah, dog. I didn't hear not one person say anything bad about either one of those movies. Okay, it was somewhat like the cool thing to be down with the movies, right? Because it was a little bit too raw. Like American Me was a little bit too raw for the people that don't live the street life or whatever. Okay, so everybody was kind of going with the flow. All right, fast forward, okay, because that was the early 90s when those two movies first came out. And I think in 1994 Mi Vida Loca came out. Let me go ahead and tell you guys this: when that movie dropped, Mi Vida Loca, immediately I heard a lot of people talk bad about it, like, that movie kind of sucks, this and that. I didn't hear that about American Me or Blood In, Blood Out. But check this out. Fast forward to the late 90s, 97, 98, 99. Everyone was trashing those two movies. Everybody was trashing American Me and Blood In, Blood Out. All right? Here's the thing. It became the cool thing to do to dislike those movies and never admit that you liked those movies. Even when it first came out, you were supposed to say like, I never liked those movies, dog. Those movies, real G's, homie. Again, I'm not talking about, when I say everybody, I'm not talking about your average Juan, Holmes, all right? It was made, there was this kind of like border line right there, right? That you couldn't cross. Okay? You couldn't come out and say that you like those movies. You need to come out and say that you never liked those movies. Why? Because you're a real G. Now, you probably don't word it that way, but that's what the atmosphere put out there, right? Eventually, once it got into the late 90s, there was a shift. And that shift was, hey, trash those movies and say that it ain't really like that. And when you do that, that makes you look like a real G, homie. It makes you look like you're really down with it. And that's what I got out of it. And I did the exact same thing, Holmes. I used to say like, those movies, only fake vatos like those movies, dog. Because real G's, homie, we know it ain't like that. Everybody was saying the exact same thing. Real G's don't care for those movies. Real G's don't like those movies. Real G's don't entertain those movies because we know it's not really like that. Yet you push rewind and go back to when those movies first came out. Dog, everybody was praising those movies. Let this truck pass by. Let me just put the window up. Everybody was praising those movies, but you could not admit that you ever enjoyed those movies. You cannot admit that. You just say, I never liked those movies, dog, because I know it ain't really like that. It was just the thing to do. Now, there's probably some about those, dog, that truly actually don't enjoy those movies. But if you don't enjoy those movies because it's not truly like that, I want to make it clear, man, it's a movie. It's not a documentary. Both of them, they're movies. Yes, I understand American Me says inspired by true events and it's supposed to portray, certain characters. We're not going to get into that. But they are movies. They're not documentaries. Okay, it's like a military person or somebody who served in the military. They cannot enjoy Rambo, any of the Rambo movies. It's a movie. It's not a documentary. A cop who served as a police officer cannot like Die Hard because he says it's not really like that. It's a movie. Vatos, I've said it before, Holmes. Vatos from the streets, homie. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Are some of the most sensitive, egotistical maniacs you'll ever meet. I know that for a fact, homie, and I was one of them as well. This is why they're so fast, man. Any little criticism, they're so fast to take it so to the heart that they want to fight. They need to knuckle up, homie, and fight. We got to throw down. They're so damn sensitive, right? So it became cool to actually hate on those movies. It became cool to actually hate on those movies. And some way, somehow, it made you look like you were a real one, right? A real gangster, homie. By saying like, those movies are fake, dog. The heck with those movies. F those movies. Those movies are fake, homie. Real G's, we don't like those movies, right? Speaking for everybody. And I would hear the same thing from every vato, dog. We don't like those movies. Only fake vatos like those movies. Because real gangsters, we know it's not really like that. And here's the crazy thing, man, is that I would hear, even today, I hear vatos talk about those movies till this day, saying things like that, like only fake vatos like those movies, because real G's, we know it's not like that. And some vatos are like in their 30s, or even early 40s. And you take a movie like Blood In, Blood Out, that movie was based in the 1970s. You weren't even around in the 1970s. But even if you were around in the 1970s, it's not a documentary. It's not a documentary. It's a movie. It's for entertainment. It's not a documentary. So the outrage and the dislike. Now look, if you truly don't like the movies, that's fine. You don't have to find it entertaining. It's like, nah, the movie sucks. But it's like, but if you're like, I don't like the movie because that's not how it really is. Look, Holmes, I'll go ahead and tell you guys this, man. If you're going to follow the true life of a real true gangbanger every day and make that into a movie, that's going to be a pretty damn boring movie. I'll just leave it at that. All right. So I'll go ahead and I'll tell you guys this. When the movies came out, me and myself personally, when those two movies first came out, did I see an impact with American Me? Heck yeah. Heck yeah, dog. I saw an impact with just about everybody. When Blood In, Blood Out came out, it had a little bit of an impact, man. More towards the just references and stuff. And I'll tell you guys what movie I like the most at the end. More with like the references and stuff like that, like Al Negro and just things like that, Chon Chon. To this day, I hear people saying Chon Chon, right? She looks a little bow-legged to me, just the references in it, man. I still hear it to this day. But anyway, So when they first came out, yeah, I liked it, along with just about everybody, Holmes. Okay, as we got into the late '90s, I trashed the movies, along just with like everybody else did, talking about that real gangsters don't like those movies because we know that's not how it is, and that just saying that about those movies made you look like you were really about it, and some of those really truly were. Okay, and you still have those today saying things like that. I don't know why that needs to be said. If you don't like the movie, you don't like the movie. It doesn't have to be real. It does, like I said, like, well, I don't want to say it again about the whole follow the gangbanger and make a movie out of that. It'd be a boring movie. But I find them entertaining. Did I trash the movies once upon a time? Yeah, dog. Just like so many people talking about, like, hey man, because real gangsters don't. It just supposed to made you look like you're, real gangster, homie, whatever, homies. All right. So when it comes to those two movies and which one I like the most, okay. American Me definitely had a bigger impact. By far, in my opinion, had a much bigger impact. But entertainment value, and American Me was a lot more raw as well, right? But entertainment value, just for entertainment itself, I think Blood In, Blood Out is a little bit more entertaining. Just with the characters, I think you connect a little bit more with the three guys, as opposed to, both movies, American Me and Blood In, Blood Out, are about three individuals, right? And it doesn't seem like you really connect as much with, Santana, JD, and Mundo in American Me. You do, but not as much as you do with the characters in Blood In, Blood Out, with Paco Aguilar, El Gao Negro, Miklo, and Crucito, right? And just seeing the differences, the different paths that they took, I think it's a little bit more of an entertaining movie. It's a long one. And the Cortura, I like that in that movie as well, man. And just some of the funny characters in there, having Popeye in his red calzones, homie, opening the door, entra, with his fro and everything. It's I think it's a little bit more entertaining. So entertainment value, I would go Blood In, Blood Out, even though it's a little bit of a longer story, but I think the story's better. But a little bit more raw, and the one that had more impact was definitely American Me. Now, I'm not too proud to say that I enjoy those movies, dog. I think they're good movies. I'm not going to get into, the mayhem that one of those movies brought or anything like that. But yeah, dog, I just find it a little funny, Holmes, that when those movies came out, it seemed like everybody was in love with them, dog. And then you fast forward a few years, and then it became the thing to do, to trash them, so you can, because if you didn't trash those movies, and if you said, no, I like those movies, dog, it pulls your gangster card, Holmes. That's what it became, right? But there might be some people that actually truly don't like those movies. That's cool. But if you don't like those movies because it's not really like that, man, you have a movie that's really about that street life, dog. It's a boring movie. And by the way, I just want to go ahead and mention this, man, before this video gets too long. When people say that, like, it's not really like that, it's not really like that, there are some things that I can relate to when it comes to those movies that are actually true. I'm not gonna get into the whole prison thing. I'm talking about the street stuff, okay? Like for one instance, all right, when they're walking with Mundo, and then they want to test them by walking in through rival territory. You know what? I'll be real with you guys. So I actually connect with that, because that actually did happen, Holmes. You'd be partying at the homie's garage or whatever, and you need to walk, I don't know, dog, 10 blocks to get to your pad or whatever, and you could get a ride, right? The homie's there that's got a car or whatever, but there's this new vato was kicking it. It's like, nah, dog, we're gonna stroll it, homie. It's like, well, why, dog? Homeboy said he'll give us a lift. Nah, chale, we're gonna stroll it. So I actually can connect, dog, to some of those things actually are true, man. Again, I'm not talking about the whole prison thing. I'm talking about the stuff in the streets, man. Some of that stuff is real. That part right there is the one that got to my head, where it's like, oh yeah. I remember being tested like that and testing other vatos too, dog. It's like, hey, you know what? We're gonna go to the store, dog. You know, the one down there. It's like, well, why? The other one's just right here, dog. Down there, it's, you know, it's kind of hot, homie. Like, we're not really wanted, yeah, but we're gonna go anyway. Oh, dog, all the foolish machismo stuff, dog. So I did relate to that, you know, that scene right there. And if vatos are gonna be honest, I'm sure they can relate to certain parts of these movies. But again, you're not supposed to, because it pulls your gangster card. You're just supposed to trash the movies and say it's not really like that. It's all 100% fake. It's a movie. It's not a documentary. It is not a documentary. They are movies. They are for entertainment. Just like Die Hard, just like Lethal Weapon, just like they are movies. But anyway, I just want to go ahead and throw that out there, man. So yeah, I'm not too proud today to say I enjoy the movies. Will I sit down and watch one of those movies from beginning to end today? Probably not, unless I'm showing the movie to somebody else. The last movie that I watched, I believe, was American Me. I sat down and I showed it to my sons. Depending when you guys are watching this video, it was probably about 3 years ago. Now, I've seen scenes. I'm not talking about, oh, somebody's watching it or it's on in the background and you're walking in and out or something. Yeah, that's happened. But I'm talking about sit down and watch the movie from beginning to end, all the way through and through. Like I said, I probably won't ever do that again, unless I'm showing somebody the movie. And the last one I watched from beginning to end was American Me, when I was showing it to my sons. But anyway, I'll leave you guys with that, man. What's your guys' thoughts about these two movies? And you guys can go ahead and throw it in there, dog. You know, real gangsters don't like these movies because that's not the way it is. So be it, dog. I get it, Holmes. It pulls the gangster card. Anyway, as always, familia, live life like you're on the road. Be aware of your surroundings. Don't keep a safe distance. Blood makes you live. But loyalty makes you family. Until next time, this is Ed Shaw Trucker. Over and out.